Hello, this is Gary. I am going to be doing some live demos here of the OneVinn tools that I have set up, and I will try to go through them as the OSD goes. So this is going to be very informal. This is basically my test runs, and just thought I'd share. So here, test sequences. This is my TSBackground demo, but this will also be demoing their web service, and I will show how that is set up here shortly. Alright, so it's going to go ahead and kick off, and it is gathering, and then it will be formatting here so that it can write some things to the drive, and then it will actually kick off the OneVinn TSBackground tool. Now you can actually set this up a different way, which is what his documentation has, so it actually kicked this off from the beginning. I didn't want to go through the extra steps of doing that, so I cheated and just made a step in the task sequence to kick it off. But this is pretty cool. So this is the TSBackground tool in person. So you can see on the left it provides information about the machine that is going, and then on the right side kind of the stage, and in the middle a status. It will show the steps that they're on along with percentage. If it has a progress bar sub bar, it will put that there as well, along with it counted all the steps and put them at the bottom as well, and that's how it gets the percentage. So if you have a lot of like conditions on steps, you will see it like jumping percents because it will skip certain groups and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and show you now behind the scenes here a little bit about how that works. So let me change sources here. All right, going over to the server, I've got the task sequence here that's running currently on the other machine. And so right now, this is all it is that's kicking off his tool. And then there's some other steps here, and this is all explained in his documentation, along with copying the tool to the drive itself. So when you reboot, it will continue. Another thing that I'm going to show off is this web service. It's the OneVinn web service that he created, and I'm running one of the scripts here. And what this will do is it will look for the primary user of this device, and then it will go ahead, look for all the applications that are associated with that, and build variables. So I'm imaging Recast 04 right now. Let me go ahead and find this, and then we will go ahead and so right here you can see the primary user on this device has already been set. And so you can do this when you're creating the device, importing it, you can go ahead and assign a primary user, or during a task sequence, if you have a front end, you can assign the primary user as well. So you can, there's lots of ways that you can make this all work for you. And then on the back end here, I've got this an OU designated just for applications, and then I've got different AD groups for the different applications. And then based upon the description is what the web service looks for. And this is all customizable. I chose to have the prefix app dot, and then the name of the application, and then a suffix, that's the word I'm looking for, with the .i, and the .i is just the recommendation from the documentation. So I've got several different applications here set up, and then when it gets to that step, it will go ahead and run the web service and pull that in. So he's got great documentation, and I would highly recommend that. So here's the web service, and so what I can do here is kind of give you a quick demo. So get primary users is one of the parts that it uses. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the name of that machine, and you can see here that it's returning the primary user. And then I will show you what's going to get returned when it runs that get all groups. I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. Put true, true, invoke. And then so here it actually is returning all this information to the task sequence. so that way it will actually know which applications. Now these applications are the literal names of the applications in CM, and that is then how it knows which applications is by name. So if you are used to like putting a version in the name of the application, you're going to have a lot more maintenance where you're going to have to either keep updating the name of that AD group, or what I've just gone to the method where the name is the name, and I keep the versioning inside of the app itself. So like here, software version is this, and then for your reporting, just make sure that you're pulling in different things. But I would try to always keep the name the same so that it doesn't break your automation for the task sequence. Let's go ahead and cut back over and just see where we are right now. All right, so we are on the Setup Windows and Configuration Manager step. Cool. That should be causing a reboot here shortly, as it then skips into. So right now it's applying like your or building your custom settings, the INI, and those kind of things, which will then get applied here during the first reboot. So basically, this is the first loading of the full OS where it runs the mini setup and applies all those settings. So like it's joining the domain and it's setting like the language and all the other stuff that you would have put into there earlier. So this typically takes a few minutes. So while this is running, I'll go ahead and cut back over to explain some more things here. And just 1 second. There we go. All right. So yep, you saw the applications are here. It's calling the web service. Now there are scripts that are provided by in it itself. So here's the web service, and here are the different scripts that are provided. I've actually written one myself just to test and get used to it. But so by default, it basically always runs this configuration file, which I think I actually already have open. Yep. So at this point, this is where you would need to update for your area. So I added PS2 because that is my site code. By default, this was just a dot, but I just decided I like app better. Makes more sense in my head. And then the rest of these were the default. I just made sure that this was true so that it would pull in the apps that are associated with the primary user. This information here, oh, that's a good point. I'll show you. This here information is how it can reach out to the web service. And those are set in your task sequence using the dynamic. Well, you can use regular variables too, but I just use the dynamic variable to go ahead and put those informations in here. So it's got the URL, which is the server I have the web service on, and then the username and password that have rights to it. There was a little bit of setup to do that, but very little, and it's all in the documentation. It's pretty straightforward, and it is all on my review of these tools. And here, this is actually the variable that I was talking about, where if you like had a front end, you could go ahead and add in a user that you wanted to make primary, and then the front end would assign that user to this variable, and then during the actual Setup Windows and Configuration Manager step, it would go ahead and tell CM who the primary user is. So when you get to the web service later, it knows who the primary user is to pull in. So then in the task sequence, the get all groups is pulling in all the different applications that are assigned to either the computer, which I have none, or the primary user, which I have several. It's creating those variables and populating them into a variable base called coalesced apps. And so then when it gets to this step, it goes through, finds every application that's got this prefix on the variable and then pulls it in and builds the list dynamically. So each time you run it for different users, you're going to get different amount of apps pulled in. Now, on every computer, I want Microsoft Edge and Laps, so I have got those separated. Now you'd probably end up putting Office and some other things in here too for your core components. For TSBackground, we have the status where it will change that main status screen. So let's go back. Actually, it's still running. It's not to that point yet where I can show you what I mean. So we'll just stay over here. And then, so each point it would then change the status, run its thing. And then once it got through the steps and the status changes again, this is actually really similar to MDT. If you were using the MDT toolkit where you would see like BG info changing at different points, it's kind of that same idea. And then there are different error handling built in so that you have to set up, and I've put all that on the blog too. So let me go ahead and just pull that blog stuff up so you can see what I'm talking about. docs.recastsoftware.com, config manager docs over here, and then what I'm talking about, I'm working on a community tools section, and it's the OneVinn Tools. And then I've got a section here for TSBackground, and then there's an upgrade tool and the web service section. And so this is, I go through how you can set up the web service and kind of what I was just showing you and how it's set up. I forgot where I was going with this, but this is all out there right now, and I will continue adding to it. I'll be actually working on some of these scripts yet tonight. The night is young, so a lot more stuff I can be working on. All right, let's see now where we are. Okay. Well, we're getting a little closer here. So it is rebooting again. We should see the task sequence pick up here shortly and continue on. There it is, actually. Nice. Actually, what you see is about 30 seconds to a minute behind what I see. So I bet my entire voiceover is completely wrong. Oh well. Maybe I'll do another try later. I should just be watching this. Anyway, so I guess I'll watch it back later and see which is correct. Hopefully my voiceover is right. Otherwise that's gonna stink. So this is the blog. Nope. This is his tool. You can see on the right side there those stages are the statuses that are changed, so it's on the install applications. Actually, this is pretty cool. We'll actually get to see it shortly here, kick in and show those dynamic apps. Let's see here if I can get in. Nope. Okay, that is something I have to troubleshoot yet, is the the debugging that is built into TS background. It's supposed to be able to give you a prompt, and this is what allows you to disable the command line prompt in your actual task sequence. So I'm not going to be pulling up the console or the command line and showing you things, but this status here will show you some of the things, and we can actually go back and look at some of the logs in a bit once we're done with OSD. So it's installing Edge right now. The next thing is Laps, and then or the local admin password solution. And if you're curious about that, I've actually got some write-ups as well on the blog that will walk you through getting that set up for your environment and explaining quite a bit of the caveats to it. But if you don't have LAP set up, you should take a look and get that going in your environment. All right, so we're at the 25% mark, which once again is just arbitrary number based upon the step number. At this point, we're probably closer to 50 or 60% done based on the timing. But it's still a really cool little feature there that shows. And actually in TSBackground, you can disable that percent thing there in the middle and just leave it blank, or not have any of it there, and it would just show you the parts below. Along with, you can change the background. I'm just using a corporate wallpaper, and basically everything is customizable with our thing. Oh, cool. Installing dynamic apps. We're already on 2 of 5, so it did pull in 5 different applications based upon that user account. And here in a moment, I will go back over and show you that. But we're on Visual Studio Code now, and then we've got a few after that. Ooh, excuse me. Right. Yeah, so if you have any questions on any of this, always feel free to hit me up on Twitter, or if you're looking for any help from the creator, Johan is on Twitter as well, and that information will be posted on the blog posts so that you can connect. He's been very responsive to me when I've had some questions, and overall pretty helpful. And they will be planning to do a webinar with us shortly. I think March or April of 2021. Jorgen and Johan are going to be doing a webinar showing off some of these tools, and then you can ask questions directly to them, which is always really cool to get to talk to the creators. So here we're 4 or 5. Oh, one cool thing I want to note here, this the Adobe Acrobat application, it was actually created using another community tool, the CMPackager, which was made by Andrew Jimenez, and I hope I didn't say the name wrong. But Andrew has the whole project out there, and when I was reviewing that project, I used it to create that Adobe application. It's pretty cool what that tool is, so I would definitely check that page out too in the docs that I've written. Set it up pretty quickly, and when I get time, I'll probably add several more things to my lab, and then also just script it all, so once a month it will just update all my applications in my lab with the latest versions. That's kind of the nice thing with a lot of the community projects being all PowerShell based. You can script all this. So it looks like the Adobe Acrobat actually called a restart at the end of the application, and it's being all handled directly within the task sequence here, and it will kick back in and install the next app. So let's run back over to the other side, and I can show you a couple of the apps here. Let's see here. There we go. Back over here. Since we're here, I was just talking about the CMPackager app, so that's out here too, with a quick guide on how to get this set up and running, and how I used it then to create that Adobe application. Let's see. But oh yeah, so for the AD groups, right now you can see that Jim Halpert, which is the primary user on that machine, is in this AD group, which was then returned by the web service. So if I wanted to add more applications to Jim, I could just go in, add Jim helpert, and now the next time I image a machine, it would then automatically install the app. And at the same time, this is how I also make applications available in the Software Center. So these groups show up in Configuration Manager, and then I just use them in a query to populate the user-based collections and then make user-based deployments, so that if for some reason, let's say a new application is added to the environment, a user has an entitlement for it, they can go to Software Center and add it, but then also the next time their machine is re-imaged, it will automatically be installed at image deployment time. So it makes it very versatile. All right, let's kick back over to the imaging process now. All right, there we are. It is on the last application, which will take a little while. Not too long for Office. It's just like 3 or 4 minutes, which is what's so great about Office 365 or Microsoft Apps 365 for Business, or whatever the official name is. The new click to run is so fast for getting it installed, and then it's fully patched as well, as long as you're installing it the latest version at the time, or if you're pulling it from the internet, it's getting the latest version. I update the apps in my lab monthly using PowerShell schedule tasks that go ahead and just update the app with the latest content. But I only did that because that's what we needed to do at my place of work. Otherwise, I would have it just going straight out to the internet and pulling down the bits. It's just easier that way. All right, so this will take a few more minutes, and then we'll kick to the next stage of installing updates. Overall, I think this has accomplished everything I wanted in this demo, so I don't see a reason to continue going. But I will just go ahead and let it run, and I'm just going to go on mute in case people actually want to watch it. And while I'm watching, if I see anything come up that I want to make a note of, I'll go ahead and unmute and say, but otherwise, enjoy the progress bars. Just going to make one note here. You can see it is applying updates. Most are already applied though. I do use OSDBuilder to service my media monthly. So I would highly recommend using some tool like OSDBuilder or WIMWitch, or just making sure that you are using updated media. It will speed up the process greatly if you don't have to apply patches during OSD. A couple of these patches go pretty quick, but if you have to include like the actual full like the latest commutative update to the machine, it can add quite a bit of time. See, as you can see, that software update step wasn't too bad. It was still annoying, and the majority of the time was it actually getting the scan and everything set up for the very first time. Applying the updates themselves went pretty quick. But you can also check out the documentation I wrote. I did write up a couple of different things about servicing your media, leveraging community tools. So I'd highly recommend looking into that if you are not currently using a tool to do that. And we are to the Bitlocker step. I forgot to disable this. It does add a little bit of time onto the demo because it needs to go ahead and encrypt the drive. Thankfully, on the VM, it is fairly quick. It's only a few minutes to go from 0 to complete. And it is nice that there is that pretty little status bar that lets you know how much is completed. And much like many progress bars, it is not accurate. Whereas like the first 20% take the majority of the time, and then bam, gets to the end. But we're almost done here. Enabling Bitlocker is pretty close to the very last things that I'm doing. So we've got just a few more minutes before it finishes and then does the post-action reboot and come up to the login screen. So we will go ahead and let this continue to run. All right, so here you can see at the end of the task sequence, this is part of the TSBackground. It pops up that it was successful. This is actually pretty nice if you are imaging like an entire lab at the same time. It gives you that nice visual where you can then kind of walk around, or from the back of the room you can see that everything is green. If for some reason one failed, it would be not green. It would be bright red, showing you that there's a problem with that one. You could either re-image it or start troubleshooting. But this is a nice little visual. You could go ahead and click finish or wait for the timeline, but I don't want to wait. So I'm going to go ahead and just click finish instead of waiting another 9 minutes. And then we should see the post-action reboot here shortly. We're just going to go ahead and wait. But hey, look at that. We're at 100%. We are done, other than the post-action reboot. So we will just be patient while we wait for that to happen. And in the meantime, we can be mesmerized by this cool little circle thing that keeps going around and around. So we got that going for us. Oh, there's the post-action reboot. So now we'll be coming up to the logon screen for the first time in just a moment. All right. So we saw there an image for just a second, and now it's just running this last out-of-box experience setup all by itself, no interaction. And we should be, there we are, at the lock screen. All right. That's nice. All right, so if you were watching, that right area is actually not have anything in the background image. But this is another demo of a OneVinn tool. It is the lock screen watermark. And so what this does is you can see that you can feed it different images, and it will go ahead and put those images up over your lock screen. So if you needed to have crucial information that you want to be up before a user logs in and you want it to be dynamic, you can point this like at a network share or at a folder on the computer that has different images, and then you could actually put in here like your service desk call information, or if there's an emergency going on, you can put something up like, for instance, wear your masks. Before you type in your password, sanitize your keyboard. I don't know, something nifty like that to help remind people to do things that you as HR or IT would like them to remember to do. All right, so with that, the demo is now complete, and I was able to show off 3 tools in this one demo. So this is a 3-fer, so that means I don't have to make a couple more videos. Hope you all enjoyed, and catch you next time.